the Robert Trent Jones Society created the Legacy Award to honor those individuals who've greatly contributed to the game of golf through their actions in and out of the game. Lee, you're our second recipient. Al Geiberger was our first recipient just last year. Robert Trent Jones is obviously remembered for his genius in golf design, ushering in a modern post-war feel for the game as represented by iconic golf course designs and redesigns such as Oak Hill East, Hazeltine, Tanglewood, and Inverary. So the list is almost endless. But the society is equally in awe of how Mr. Jones expanded the game. Modern industrial construction techniques, use of statistics to shape course design for all players, care for the environment, improving turf conditions, and of course, heroic shot values. He supported municipal golf available to all. He mentored countless architects and expanded modern designs across the world and across different climates. As we say, the sun never sets on the Robert Trent Jones empire. He was golf's international ambassador. Most importantly, he pioneered a deep appreciation for the tapestry of the game, golf's magnificent challenge. If I'm to be remembered, I hope it's not just for the golf courses I built, but for the other contributions as well to the game I love and to the game that's been my life. It's in that spirit that the Robert Trent Jones Society created the Legacy Award to honor similar individuals who have electrified the game by their presence and given so much to golf over a lifetime. Therefore, it's with great pleasure that we honor Mr. Lee Trevino. Lee, you're being honored for a lifetime of golf achievement. Like Robert Trent Jones with his expansion of the game, emphasis on access for all, and international reach, your career epitomized the spirit of the Legacy Award. We don't have time today to recount all the great achievements in your life, but we would like to highlight a few of the achievements that do intersect with Mr. Jones. You grew up in Texas, home to a rich golfing tradition. Golfing greats from both privileged and hard-scrabble backgrounds have honed their game in the Texas sun and achieved greatness. Men such as Hogan, Nelson, Burke, and yourself. Like Hogan and Nelson and Mr. Jones, you took up caddying to gain access to golf courses. And like Burke, the Marines helped instill steely nerves. You electrified the golfing world with your 1968 U.S. Open at the East Course at Oak Hill. You set the tournament record by scoring on that golf course, which had recently been redesigned by RTJ in preparation for the opening. And you bested Jack Nicklaus by 4 strokes in that tournament. 1971 was perhaps your ultimate season. In fact, very few golfers have ever achieved the 4-week stretch you had in which you won the U.S. Open, the Canadian Open, and the Open Championship. That year, you won the Varden Trophy and accolades from Sports Illustrated and the Associated Press as Sportsman and Athlete of the Year. You followed that year with the defense of your Open title in 1972 against Nicklaus and Tony Jacklin. You won the Varden Trophy 3 years in a row and twice thereafter. Internationally, you won in Mexico, Morocco, Singapore, Australia, Japan. You participated in numerous Ryder Cup teams, including your first at an RTJ design Old Warson in St. Louis in 1971. All of your travels abroad, you remain an international ambassador for this game. Throughout your career, you were a man of the people, represented the everyman as they played on municipal courses using faultless golf balls and the latest Titleist golf equipment. You won the 1974 PGA Championship at an RTJ designed Tanglewood Park, the first public venue for a major championship in 20 years. You championed fast play and greater access for the game. You made the game fun for the viewer, and you encouraged generations to take up the game. Your popularity also included countless charity events, skins games. You've donated your time and in many cases your treasures to worthy causes such as St. Jude's, veteran activities, and youth programs. It's for these highlights and others too numerous to mention that it is with great pleasure that the Robert Trent Jones Society presents its 2023 Legacy Award to Mr. Lee Trevino, the beloved Super Mex.
I really do appreciate this. This is a great honor. I've admired this gentleman for many years. You have to understand that I came on site playing golf and playing the tour at a very late age. I was actually 22 years old when I took up the game. I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. Went in at 17, got out at 21, and actually that's where I started playing a little bit of golf there. And so when I got out, I didn't pursue golf at all. I actually went to work on a construction crew, finishing up the Columbian Club in Carrollton, Texas. It was a Jewish club. They had 9 holes. We were adding 9 other holes. And I actually was just playing in the afternoon after we finished building the greens. I actually welded the irrigation system there. So I know a little bit of not architecture, but I know what it takes to build a golf course. This gentleman was a genius. I did not know too much about other golf courses around the country, around the world. I'd never been any place except Dallas. One of the reasons that I went in the Marine Corps is not simply because I got in a little bit of trouble, and Dallas's finest, Old Blue, took me down to the recruiting station, and I ended up in the Marine Corps for 4 years. I was a machine gunner in the Pacific. But anyway, I didn't pursue it at all. I didn't know exactly what to do with it, and we didn't know any golf courses. When I went and played in a golf course, I had no clue who the architect was. I had no clue who won it, who built it. I did know that they were different. I didn't know that. I have to tell you the story though. When I finally got on tour, and we went and played one golf course to where I really started thinking that there was a difference in architecture when the pros started complaining so much about this particular golf course. And the reason for it is simply because most of the courses that we were playing were on the short side. They weren't very difficult. There was no bunkers in front of the green. Everything was here, old-timey thing. Greens oval, they all kind of sunk in from both sides. They were not very difficult to play. And then all of a sudden we went to Minnesota to play the US Open. And there was a gentleman, and we played a practice round. And we came into the lounge to have lunch. And Dave Hill said, he said, they ruined a hell of a farm here. He said, they really ruined a hell of a farm. And I had no clue what he was talking to until years later. And that I realized that Trent Jones had built this particular golf course. He was a visionary. He knew exactly where this game was going. The golfer was getting stronger. The equipment was getting better. The knowledge was getting better with how you worked out, got stronger, more speed. So he started making golf courses a little bit longer, a little more difficult. And it was very difficult for us to understand that. That's one of the big things that they're having problems with the Open in Europe right now is those golf courses are locked in. What are you going to do? There's only one thing to do there. What little architecture that I know, you take St. Andrews and Muirfield and everything, is they're going to have to move the bunkers out more. They're going to have to take the pot bunkers, fill the ones they have, and duplicate them another 40 yards down the line. And then that'll bring the teeth back into those old links courses. Other than that, you can't change them. That's history. You can't do that. But I think that Robert Trent Jones was the visionary. I think he's the one that started making golf courses a little bit longer, a little bit more difficult. And we didn't accept it. We didn't understand why it was working, why it was playing so hard, and why he wanted to build golf courses so long. But as you look back at it, I mean, he built over 500 golf courses. I mean, if you look at the golf courses that he's redone and built, I won on most of them. Tanglewood, I won. Valencia, I didn't win, but I played extremely well there. Oak Hills, you know, I won there. And the one in Florida, I won there. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So I certainly do appreciate it. The society, I appreciate you recognizing me. At the age of 83, only the dog doesn't even recognize me now. I mean, I'm getting old. I'm getting old. I play every day. I've already been to the course this morning. I was there at 7 o'clock, 7:30, hitting balls, putting, and doing what I have to do to get ready. But this gentleman, his legacy is what he left for us and for the youngsters. It is just unbelievable what an architect is. Unbelievable.
Mr. Trevino, you mentioned your 1974 PGA Championship win at Tanglewood. Can you recount some of your memories of that tournament and how you won there?
We played it actually backwards. We played it both ways. I actually won the senior tournament there once too, but we actually played it. The 18th hole was the old ninth hole. It was the par 4 coming up the hill. The dogleg right 18 was the old one, but anyway, 17 was the par 5. But we finished on what we call the front end. They had a drought, and they had some problems with the greens, and they had lost them. And actually, we did not have any grass on the greens, believe it or not. We don't look at that. I mean, that, you know, a green is a green. But you when you go to a golf course, you look at the land and you look around it and you look to see what he had to build here. You know, 70, 80 years ago, it wasn't difficult to build a great golf course. It's simply because you used the best piece of land to do it. You know, when you got into the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s building golf courses, you use the best land now, and in other words, for residents to build houses and apartments on. And they give you the worst piece of property to build a golf course. That's where architecture comes in. Yeah, you have to imagine what this is going to look like and what you want it to look like. And you've got to get the equipment to move mountains and to do these golf courses. He did one heck of a job with that golf course. Tanglewood is one of the best hidden jewels around. People have not played it. They need to look. They need to go and look at this with the big lake there on the left and everything. I mean, it's magnificent. I just absolutely love it. But we didn't have much grass. Actually, the wedges were even bouncing on the greens. They were sticking into the greens. I beat Jack there by one shot. I'll never forget that. We came to 17, dogleg left. And I hit a hook around the corner a little bit, and Jack looked at me and said, "Where did you learn how to hook a ball?" And I said, "You know, I just don't fade it all the time. I fade it because I want to." I said, "I can draw the ball when I need to." So I came to 18 and I had him by one shot, and he hit a 3-wood off the tee. And I looked over to him, and he's laying up. I said, "Well, man, when you're one back, you're supposed to hit driver. You're supposed to go with all you got." And he lays up, and I made par. I remember putting out before I let him putt, because I looked over at him and I said, "Listen, if you don't let me putt this putt now, I'm going to pass out," because I rolled a 20-footer down there about 2 feet from the hole, and then it's customary to mark it and let him putt out because I had a one-shot lead. And they said, "Go ahead." I was playing Hubert Green. The late Hubert Green was playing with us also. But that's how you measure an architect. It's not difficult to build a golf course that's already built for you. All you got to do is mow it and plant some grass because it's there. You know, the land is gorgeous and everything, and it's the best piece of property. That doesn't happen anymore. Now you get the worst piece of property, and then you have to do something with it. That's what a great architect is all about.
Well, Lee, I've got a question for you. It seems like some players approach a course, they try to bend that course to their will, while other players play it where they take what the course is going to give to them. Do you agree with that assessment? And if so, is there a generational thing to it where players today are more bending the course to their will? And which type of player would you label yourself? One that tried to bend
Well,
the course to their will, or took what the
yeah,
course gave them?
I'm a bump and run guy. I looked at a golf course, and the first thing I would look at is what's in front of the green. Can I get in there? And that's why I played the Open Championship well. I won a lot of tournaments over, not a lot in Europe, but I played well in Europe. And it's simply because most of your links courses I fell in love with because there's nothing in front. And you can bump and run, and the greens are low, and they're not elevated, so I don't have to get the ball up. The thing that I had the most difficult time with is when I went to a golf course that was well bunkered and the green didn't face you. They would go from 7 to 2, or 11 to 4, and then they had a bunker in there, and then they had a bunker on the right, and I couldn't get in there. I had to go in the air. My bad play came when I had to play a golf course that was well trapped. The green was elevated. Didn't make any difference what the distance was. I had to try and move the ball up. I was a holder. I moved on it. I held the angle. I didn't go to the left. I didn't add loft. Most of the shots that I hit, people will understand this. I was probably a -1 coming into the ball. That's how they measure. They say that Rory hits it so far because he's almost a +4 when he hits the driver. That means he's back. He hits it straight up in the air, and it stays in the air a long time. But I did that. Yeah, I did that. They don't do that now. Tiger changed it. Tiger changed it when Tiger came out. I've known Tiger since he was 8 years old. When Tiger came out, he was hitting the ball over 300 yards, which was long. He was hitting some drives 325, 350. Every time he would go into the press room, they would say about how long he was. But then the press would ask him, and the press would say to him, yeah, you hit it 325, 350, but you're not in the fairway. He said, you're in the rough or in the trees. He said, I don't care about that. He said, that doesn't bother me. He said, I just want to hit it 350, and then I'll manage it from there in. And this is what changed. When Tiger came out and started hitting at 350, everybody started saying, hey, listen, forget this fade and forget this finesse shot. We're just going to have to hit it as hard as we can hit it and let it go. And if you notice, all the clubs for these guys are stronger. I mean, I remember when the wedge was 52 degrees. Okay, 52. It's 42 now, 44 degrees. The wedge is an 8-iron now compared to what we played. And so, I kept the ball down more, and that's when I played my best. But the game has changed a lot. And we're running out of real estate, to tell you the truth. There's nothing that you can do with it. There's always, listen, everything's bouncing around the ball. That's the only thing you can bounce around. You can't go over there and cut a guy's hand so he can't swing hard, or kick him in the shin where you can't stand up. I mean, these guys are athletes now. They train every day. They hit the ball longer. Architecture, we got to keep it the way that it is. You don't have to make it. The only thing that you have to monitor is the ball. There's what can you do with the ball? Okay? The only thing that you can do with the ball, and we had one in the early 90s, I had one called the Omega for Spalding, and it was a 1.72 in diameter. It was a bigger ball. Doesn't look much bigger, but it is a little bit bigger. Won't go as far. There's too much wind resistance. I mean, if you look back at the history of the golf ball, where these golf courses have changed. I mean, we started with a 1.62. We messed around with a 1.64, believe it or not, a 1.6, and we settled on a 1.680. And that's where we're at right now. But these guys are swinging 127 miles an hour. When we invented the ball at 1.680, these guys were swinging at 95 miles an hour. It's a big difference. In architecture, it's a big difference. A lot of pressure on the architects now. They're trying. I mean, look at Robert Trent Jones built the Alabama Trail. And we played the Regency tournament there. There was a hole there that was 680 on a par 5. I said, the man has lost his mind. 680. I said, you got to be joking. I got to see this hole. Well, but the problem, it was on the side of a mountain. In other words, it was dropping way down, and actually it only played like 550, but he had 680 on there. But
Well, Lee, were you a bump and run player because of learning how to play golf in Texas and the wind? And is that where that came from, or
what's that?
style?
Was that what?
Did you become a bump and run player by virtue of having grown up in Texas?
Well, you become a bump and run. Yeah, the reason that I was so good with a low ball, and I remember the first time going to Britain and playing. I played to Scotland. I played a match, and I went and played an exhibition. And I'm hitting these shots into this 30, 40 mile an hour wind, and they were about 4 feet off the ground with 5 irons and stuff. And I mean, these people are looking at me and they're saying, where did this guy come from? We've never seen anybody from America hit a ball that low. And what happened is, remember the driving range I actually started playing on was Hardy's driving range in Dallas. And we had like 15 acres, but we had a row of trees on the right side, and a lot of balls would get on the other side of the trees. And I would go over there with one club, and I'd have to hit the balls back into the center of the range. And if I went over with a 5 iron, I was too close to the trees to get them over. So I'd hit them low. I'd hit them low, and I'd go around. I was one of the few that could hit it low. I could hit it 5 feet off the green and cut it. That's a hard shot. Anyone can hit a ball low if you hook it. But there's very few people that can really maneuver a golf ball and keep it down. That's, when people talk about my ball striking, and Jack and a lot of people say he's the best ball striker I've ever seen. I think what they really mean, I wasn't the best ball striker by far. There were so many other guys. Sam Snead was absolutely unbelievable what he could do with a golf ball. But I will tell you what I was good at, and I don't know of anyone else that was any better than me, is I could flight it. I could flight the ball. I could stand there and I could hit a 6 iron 170 or 155, 160. And I could hit that baby about 40 foot off the ground and keep it dead straight. And I could repeat it with about 10 shots, one right after the other. That's what I could do. I could maneuver the ball up and down. High, that was my Achilles heel. I couldn't hit a ball high simply because I had to do something different. I couldn't move on it. I had to stay behind it, and I had to flip it, and I had to do a +2. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. I'm going to keep my ball on the ground. This is a ball. It's round. It's supposed to roll. And I said, that's what I'm going to do with it. Yeah.
Lee, I'm an old faultless guy myself. I grew up. I don't think you could do anything to those golf balls, but it was the easiest thing to do for 89 cents a ball at the time. I've got a question for you, and that is, given how you grew up in the game, you and Orville Moody came up through the military, but also just the opportunities that you had in coming into the game. Do you think those exist now, or because of all the extra training and extra work that is required to be competitive, it's just difficult for an everyday kid like yourself or Orville or Seve to break into the game?
It is difficult now. It's difficult now because there's only so many spots. If there was a lot of spots out there, it's very difficult to work your way in. That's the thing. It looks like that the only way that there's any way of getting in there now is a kid has to go to college. He's got to go to college. He's got to get on a golf team. Got to get recognized. Got to get some competition. The day of the caddy making it on tour, which used to be all of them, everybody caddied, Hogan caddied, Snead caddied. I mean, you name them. The only guy that I know that didn't caddy that made it on tour was Frank Stranahan, because his family owned Champion spark plugs. So he didn't have to. They waived their money. They didn't even count it. They waived it. But anyway, that's exactly. I don't know of anybody else. Mr. Jones, Bobby Jones. I mean, I don't know if he caddied or whatever. He came from a wealthy family, also lived across the street from the golf course. Yeah, I think that those days are over. I think that's one of the reasons that you don't see very many minority kids on tour. We thought, I remember being there when we started the first tee event. And we started the first tee program 27 years ago in Manhattan, Kansas. We were all there. The commissioner was there. Everybody was there. We actually thought that this particular outfit would give us some minority players. When I went on tour the first time in 1967, I was Rookie of the Year, we had probably 15 Hispanics and black players. What we got now, you see where it's gone. So the competition is stiff. The thing about this game, it is a game of numbers. It doesn't discriminate. That's what's so great about it. It doesn't discriminate. It goes by numbers. We don't care if you got 3 ears and 4 noses. If you can put the numbers up, you get a card and you can play on tour as long as you abide by the rules. And that's what makes this game so great. I think that's one of the reasons that Trent loved it so much. You got a shot. You got a shot. It all started in 1963, as you well know. We had the Caucasian rule in until 1963, and then from there it was gone. Yeah, but we've had some good players. We had Lee Elder out there, was a great player. Jim Thorpe, one of my best friends. I mean, he won a lot of senior tournaments and did what he had to do. So the game does not discriminate. It's about numbers. That's what it's about. It's about numbers. You can go to qualifying school. If you shoot low enough, you get a card. That's the way it is.
I also wanted to ask you to confirm a rumor that I heard at Hazeltine. Is it true that you made Sam Snead sign his scorecard the first day?
I do not remember that. I do not remember that, but I probably did. I don't know what the heck. I'm like all autographs. I don't know what I did with it. I mean, I've signed 9 billion autographs. If you call people today and said, send me, I'll send you $100 for each autograph. Nobody could find one. You know, that's just the way it is. But that's okay. That's okay. You know,
at Hazeltine, they claim that because that first day the weather was so bad, Sam wanted to withdraw, and somebody told me that you made him sign his card so that he wouldn't be able to drop out of the tournament after that first bad weather.
I don't remember that, but there was a lot of chatter going on. And you know, they were talking about how difficult this course was and how long this course was. And I mean, they were all complaining about it, you know. And Lou Graham wins the tournament, and he's not the longest hitter in the world. And the guy that's the shortest hitter I've ever seen to play on professional golf or at that time finished second, which was Bob Verway, was Gary Player's brother-in-law. Finished second in the tournament. And I said, well, it can't be too long. I said, 2 of the shortest hitters on tour won the golf tournament and finished runner-up. So, it was unbelievable. Headlines were, I mean, the letters were that big in the newspaper the next morning about what Dave Hill said. He said, they all they need to get some more cows. He said, because they ruined a hell of a farm here. And if you look back at it, I mean, it was the start of what golf architecture is all about today. No question about it. No question.
What are you most proud of in your golf career?
Well, you know, it would be easy to mention a lot of stuff, but it never occurred to me all that much, to tell you the truth, because I wasn't supposed to play this game in the beginning. From where I came from, and I didn't know anything about it. I mean, you got to understand that I got out of the Marine Corps in 1960 in November. I was welding irrigation pipes on Christmas Day at the Columbian Club. I was 21 years old. Still, if you'd have said, do you know Ben Hogan? 30 miles away. No. How about Arnold Palmer? Never heard of him. How about Nicholas? Don't have a clue. How about Snead? I don't know who the hell he is. Come on. I'm 21. Golf's not even in the equation. It's just so that I started practicing, playing for a buck here, buck there, and next thing you know, I beat this guy, I beat that guy. Now this guy hires me to play that guy, and I beat him, and I kept going and going and going. I never played an amateur tournament. I never played a pro tournament. The first tournament I ever entered, I won, and it was a pro tournament. It was the Texas State Open in 1965 at Sharpstown in Houston. And I never played a tournament before. And I went down there and I won the tournament. I beat Frank Wharton in the playoff. Never forget it. Frank Wharton was Spencer's assistant pro at Preston Hollow Country Club. It's not here anymore in Dallas, but I won it in the playoff. 2 months later, I won the New Mexico Open in Albuquerque. And then I qualified for the U.S. Open in San Francisco at Olympic, and I finished 54th. And then I qualified again in 67, and I went to Boulder Straw and I finished 5th. And then the PGA had the tour, so every time you made the cut in the tournament, you were in the next tournament. I was a Class A junior, so I drove the Hazeltine. That's where I went. That's when I was there the first time. This was in 1967. And I went to Hazeltine and I qualified Monday. I didn't know there were 80 spots. Back then, they were all rabbits, we call them. And there were 80 spots. And I had my wife, and my daughter was little bitty, and we drove up there. We got a little motel room for like $6 a day. And I went out and played a practice round. I played that Sunday afternoon. Monday morning, I teed up to qualify. I shoot 77. I'm parking my car across from the pro shop because it was just a cornfield. And all of a sudden, Wade Cagle comes by and he says, "Hey," he called me Pinto Bean. You couldn't do that today, which is okay with me. He said, "Hey, Pinto Bean." He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, I shot 70." Samuel. I said, "Hell, that's not going to qualify." And he said, "You're leading." I said, "Okay." So I stayed and I made the cut. And then I went to, where'd I go? Chicago. And I made the cut. I went to Canada, made the cut. Hartford, Connecticut, made the cut. Holy moly. And so I went and made the cut. And then I kept going. New York City, made the cut. Hawaii. Anyway, to make a long story short, I played 13 tournaments that year, made the cut in all of them. I didn't even play golf. I made the cut in all 13 tournaments. They gave me Rookie of the Year, even though I didn't play 16 tournaments to qualify. So we're going to give it to you anyway. And they gave me they gave me Rookie of the Year. I won $33,400. That was my prize money in 1967 for Rookie of the Year. 13 tournaments I played in. The next year I come out and I start the tour, and I ended up I won at Oak Hill. In 1968, I win the Open. That gives me a lifetime exemption. What in the world are you talking about? Can you imagine a lifetime exemption? As long as I don't kill somebody, or I'm a dead drunk or a dope addict, I'm in, baby. I'm out here. I'm good.
Oh, fantastic. That's fantastic.
Lee, I've got a question for you. Do you remember next door neighbor that you had in Dallas, Texas, by the name of Carl Welty, who had a son that played cross-handed? His name was Craig Welty.
Yeah. I do. I couldn't get him to change that grip.
I saw a clip.
Huh?
I saw a clip that he must have been about 6 years old, and you tried to get him to hit the ball with a regular grip, and he changed it on you.
No, he wouldn't do it. It's amazing how kids they feel stronger that way. They grab it with their left hand and they hit it. But a lot of times I don't know if that kid he may have been left-handed. I don't know that. Like Jordan Spieth, a lot of people don't realize that he's left-handed. That's why he puts with his left hand low, and he puts very well with it. He's the best putter I've ever seen with the left hand low, because everybody that teaches putting and golf, that you putt with the right hand. In other words, you release the putter. You take it back with the right hand and you release it. And when you put the left hand low, see, the right hand is not dominant in you. But Jordan, I didn't know. I think he's left-handed. That's why he puts it so well. Yeah, and that's why, in my opinion, I think that there was another player. I can't think of his name right now. That's the advantage of being 83. You can't think of too many things anymore.
I also talked to Bobby Nichols a couple weeks ago. He said to say hello. Could you tell us what you remember about that day?
Where's he at? Fiddlesticks?
Yep, down at Fiddlesticks. He's still waiting for his roof to get repaired from Hurricane Ian.
Oh yeah, his roof hasn't fixed yet.
He hasn't got his roof fixed yet.
He got a blue tarp though, baby. Tell him I'll fly with a blue tarp.
That's right.
Everybody's got a blue tarp. Huh?
He talked about that day when you guys got hit by lightning. What do you remember about that day?
Yeah, well, I remember. There's a funny story that goes with that, and I'll tell you why. It's simply because the week before we were playing the U.S. Open at Medina, and there were two tournaments, 2 weeks in a row there. One Chicago and at Butler, and the other was Medina, and it was a Friday, and I was on the 10th tee about 1 o'clock, and a thunderstorm came over, and a gentleman walks out of the locker room and comes and gets me off the tee. And I said, what's the problem? He said, they told me that there's place suspended right now and they wanted you to come into the locker room. I said, and what about the people that are here around the green, around the tee? They're sitting in bleachers that are steel and everything else. And he said, they didn't tell me to bring them in. They just told me to bring you in. And I said, well, I tell you what, I'm going to stay here I'm trying to be a clown. See, I'm trying to be funny. And I said, I'll be all right. Don't you worry about me. I'm going to stay right here with all these people. And they're going, yeah, and I'm feeling good. And I'm going to say, and I'll tell you what, you tell them that I tell you that if lightning starts, I'm going to hold a 1-iron up, because not even God can hit a 1-iron. I don't have to tell you what happened the next week. He knocked my buns off on Friday. On Friday, I was playing with Jerry Hurt, which has not played since. One of the best talents I had ever seen. Young man, strong, big, strong kid, could really play. He's down there. He goes down to Fiddlesticks and hits balls with J.C. Sneed and Bobby all the time. And so Jerry Hurt, and I was playing with a guy out of New York that was a good player named Mike Fetchett. He was a club professional, but he was good. And we're going down, we're playing the 13th hole, the par 3, and there's a lake next to the par 3. And it's really cloudy, and it's low, and it starts thundering, starts lightning. And at that time, we had no warning. We didn't have a siren that went up, or nobody said anything. So they blew the horn to suspend play, but I didn't want to walk all the way to the clubhouse and then walk all the way back. So I said, to hell with it. So I said, put the bag down. So he put the bag down, I took my umbrella and I sat on the bag. And then, believe it or not, a lightning struck the lake and the rays came out, knocked me out. Didn't knock Jerry Hurt out, didn't hit Fetchett, took Palmer's club and flew it about 50 yards down the fairway and hit Bobby Nichols also there. He got a little bit of a jolt. I ended up in intensive care for 2 days. I'm the one that got the worst of it. And then about 2 months later, that's when my back ruptured. And they said they didn't think that it was caused by the lightning, but I don't know. I don't know if it weakened the muscles or what happened, but I ended up with a ruptured back. And I fought it for years and years and years, but yeah, the Lord says, the Lord says, did I hear you say that I couldn't hit a one iron? No, but I'll tell you one thing, it's your buns, baby. Here we go. You're going to get it. Don't do it, folks. Believe me. He's up there watching you.
Do you have any final thoughts on Robert Trent Jones and the type of courses that he designed?
Well, I saw Junior in February. Every year I go to the big island of Hawaii, and he built a magnificent course there. Kahuna Iki is one of the, my opinion, is probably the best resort in Hawaii, in my opinion. It's magnificent. It's private. It's got a great beach, restaurant on the beach, bar on the beach, pickleball. You got it. It's there. And Junior was there. Robert was there. And we were talking about the bunkers a little bit. I thought he had too many. You know, I did suggest to him. I said, now, why would you have a double bunker? I said, if I'm in this bunker and it's huge, I mean, this thing's big. I said, my house isn't that big. That bunker's that big. And I said, you got another one on the other side. So if I get in this bunker, how the hell am I supposed to maneuver the next bunker and stuff? And so, but we were laughing. But I did see him. But you know, being in this golf business and playing all over the world, which I had played, and I used to go to golf tournaments and never play a practice round because I was oozing with confidence my whole life. And they would say, did you play a practice round? And I'd say, does it have a fairway? And they said, yes. I said, well, does it have a green? And they said, yes. I said, that's all I need to know. I said, I don't need to know anything else. So when we played the Pro-Am, the only thing I haven't tested was the sand. So I would make it a point to hit 3 bunkers, try to hit 3 bunkers on the golf course to test the sand. A couple on the front and one on the back, and then that in the Pro-Am, because you couldn't practice at the time. And that's what I would do. But I'm going to tell you something. Being in the business and looking at what these people do, and we're just not talking about Robert Trent Jones, and we're talking about architecture. We're talking about people that are architects. I don't see how they see this. They're artists. A great artist already can see the portrait on the canvas before he even hits it with a brush, and that's how they do it. You know, and so my hat's off to them. I don't know how they do it, but they're absolutely magnificent at the way that they build these golf courses. I don't think there's a lot that separates them, but some try to, in my opinion, some of them get a little crazy with golf courses, making them entirely too difficult to try and make a name, or somebody will talk to them, and you don't really have to do that. You know, condition, in my opinion, is we're spoiled here. Americans are spoiled. We have to have green grass. We can't have spots on the green. I mean, you go over to Scotland and Ireland and play some of those golf courses. I mean, they haven't watered those courses in 75 years. You know, they've watered themselves, and they haven't planted any grass in 50 years. And if you get a little breeze, you get a little rain, maybe you get a little snow in the winter, maybe you got some green grass by March, you know. If not, August comes around, yeah, you got to put the ball from 80 yards. My wife played over there, one of the oldest courses in the world, one of the oldest courses in Scotland, just up the street from St. Andrews. And my wife played the best round of golf she ever played, because she would chili dip a pitch and it would roll 50 yards on the green. And she said, man, I love this game. She said, we got to play some more of this. I love this kind of game. Wait till she gets in the bunker on number 2 at the old course. I mean, she'd have to have a ladder to get in there. But I just want to say, I really appreciate this. I had never had the chance of talking about architecture and these people that do this. my hat's off to him. I'm very proud of the award. I want to thank you, and I want to thank the society for thinking about me. It's always a feather in your hat when people are still thinking about you, because when you get old and you don't play anymore, we're history, and I understand that more than anybody in the world. But it's fabulous. Thank you very much.